beginning is a very delicate time.
You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life?
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams.
I think I should start off this video by stating that I don't get Dune. When it comes to Dune, I really tried to get into it on more than one occasion, but unfortunately I just couldn't get it. There just seems to be something I can't quite get behind, some disconnect. It has all of the story elements I usually like, but it just falls short, and I can't seem to understand why. I first tried getting into Dune back in high school. It was actually recommended to me by one of my teachers. She actually gave me her very own copy of it, which I still technically have.
Where did I put that book? Where? Oh, there it is.
I got home, I cracked it open, and I immediately had to put it down because I thought I was having a stroke.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
Fast forward a few years, I decided I'll try again. I thought, I'm older, I've matured, I've developed a less jaded sense of the stories and the media I enjoy. Maybe I'll like it now. I was wrong. I got about 2 chapters in with just as much understanding as before I started. I put it down and just never had the drive to pick it back up. Then I decided to try and watch the 1984 movie, thinking it would help me grasp this dense monolith of a series. Helped me with Game of Thrones? Why not this series? And I have a bit of a secret. I fucking love this movie. The 1984 Dune is one of the most ridiculous, over-the-top 80s sci-fi movies I have ever seen, and I love every minute of it. From the overacting, the outdated effects, and the very apparent need to try and make this movie as similar to Star Wars as they possibly could. Tell you the truth, I actually think I like the aesthetic and atmosphere in this movie than I do the newer one. And sure, on a technical level, well, actually on every level, this movie is corny as hell. But I just can't get enough of it. And sure, yeah, it's not all that faithful to the books, but at least it's actually fun to watch. And Frank Herbert was actually very much involved in the making of this film, and was apparently just happy about his work being adapted to the big screen.
And always just, again, boy, is, kind of that attitude, boy, isn't this great, This is so much fun to be a part of this and to see this happening. And, he would help with pronunciations, from time to time. But he really, as I recall, didn't impose or, himself on in any way. He was like just very happy to see his vision, come to life and in whatever form. I mean, obviously this book had to be altered a great deal. And he just seemed to be quite fine with, whatever form it took.
Fast forward another few years, both my brothers were getting into Dune and having very interesting conversations about it that I could not participate in, other than sharing my appreciation and love for the 1984 movie. The trailer for this new Dune just dropped, and I thought, why not give it another go? But this time, I decided to take a different approach. I started listening to the audiobook. I thought it would help. It did not. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I have a very hard time paying attention to books specifically. If something in the story gives me some sort of interesting perspective or intriguing notion about the story, the characters, or even life itself, I often just trail off into my own thoughts about the implications of it all. And then I'll forget I'm still listening to the book and miss like 4 important plot points. And Dune is definitely not a book you should be listening to. I also think the copy that I had, that I totally obtained legally, made it even harder because for some reason the people who put it together thought it would be a great idea to randomly switch between an ensemble cast of voice actors for each character, to the narrator just using goofy voices. So for most of it, I could never tell who was talking or where anyone was or what was going on. The parts where there were actually voice actors, I could actually get into the story and I actually understood what was going on, and kept having to remind myself who the fuck was even in the scene.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
So with this new film just coming out, I thought maybe it could finally help me get into this whole Dune thing. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think it did. That's not to say that this movie was bad. In fact, I very much enjoyed the movie, for the most part. This movie was in fact on every level masterfully crafted. I have loved everything this director has ever made, and in my opinion, he has never made a bad movie. I'm also an incredibly big fan of all the actors, and I think they did a very good job in their roles. Everything about this film on the surface is excellent, and I think it did a very good job explaining the complex world this story takes place in. The atmosphere, overall Shakespearean nature of the story is conveyed very well. However, that still doesn't change the fact that the pace of this story is incredibly and mercilessly slow. Now, there's nothing wrong with slower paced media. In fact, I actually very much like slower paced movies or TV shows. It's just for some reason I got this feeling that in this movie it kept building tension for an event, and then after that event took place, I realized that I didn't care. And I feel as if you're going to build tension for an event, that I should care after that event takes place. And I just didn't. Also, on a side note, smaller thing, I noticed there were a lot of really funny moments throughout the movie. There were a lot of instances of shot composition or actors' performance that made me laugh or cringe, and I do not think it was intentional. And this isn't a criticism. In fact, I actually very much enjoyed most of those moments, and it made the experience way better. I just thought I should mention it. It would seem that this very beloved and influential series has finally gotten an adequate adaptation. However, when it comes to the meat of this story, there seems to be a very large disconnect I have with it. I have great love and appreciation for a lot of the traditional nerdy things, and Dune should in theory be one of them. It has everything all those others do: a deep, rich, bizarre lore, fun sci-fi / magical systems, political intrigue, compelling, deeper themes and messages about the very genre that it's a part of. It has it all, but for some reason I just simply don't get it. There's just something missing from it that seems to keep me from enjoying it as much as I feel like I should. I read through a lot of the reviews for this movie on IMDb, and most people seem to be either for or against this movie. People who read and enjoyed the book seem to really like it, but the people who were expecting a summer blockbuster like what was advertised were terribly disappointed. Many people found it boring, confusing, and borderline nonsensical. But then the fans of the books liked it for all those same reasons, so what are you gonna do? There was one review that seemed to capture my overall thoughts perfectly. At the end of the day, I have a great appreciation for what Dune is in concept, but I have very little joy from actually experiencing it myself. And I don't want to ruin it for you. If you like it, that's awesome. I'm glad you do. I'm very happy that you got something out of this series that I just can't. Maybe when we get part 2 and I actually finish the story properly, maybe I'll change my tune. But until then, I just don't get it.